Then next we'll discuss about the characteristics of a router. Okay. First of all, works on layer 3, network layer. Intelligent device makes forwarding decision based on the destination IP address. Per port broadcast domain means if there is any broadcast on one port of router, that will not be advertised on the other port. Per port collision domain, full duplex device, and uses IP address to communicate. These are all the different characteristics of your router. Now we'll see what all the components are there for the router. Okay. So in a computer, what all the components are there? What is we have RAM, CPU, ROM, same kind of things. RAM, ROM, CPU is there. Okay. Then motherboard is there. Like this, multiple things are there. So in case of router also, you'll find almost the same things only. Okay. So here, one important point you can note down that your router and your PC, they are considered as the same devices. Okay. So whenever in some interview or anywhere, if you are asked, let's say you want to connect a router with your PC, you will need a straight through cable or crossover cable. So your router and PC, they are considered as the same devices. And when you're communicating, when you're trying to connect the same devices, crossover cable. Okay. In that case, you will use the crossover cable. Okay. Now see, ROM. What is a ROM? Read-only memory. Okay. What does it mean? That is just the full form. What is ROM? Storage. In your phones, you have ROM. How much? 256, 64, 64. Are you sure that is ROM? That is RAM. 64 to 56 gigs of RAM in a phone.
Yes, ROM.
Tell me. Okay. Have you seen anywhere written ROM 256? When you buy a phone, does it mention storage or ROM? Storage. Then why do you call it a ROM?
Store the information in the
Please louder.
You can read when we want with the accessibility. So that will be sorry.
Okay. But in your phone's 256 gigs of RAM, do you have it? No. What is a ROM? 256.
RAM 8.
RAM 8. RAM, okay, RAM you know, but ROM you have confusion. That's why I'm asking. What do you think? Okay, let's say any system. Let me show you my disk configuration. Still loading. So if my system has a 500 gigs of hard disk, is it ROM? So this size, this is ROM. Then why do we call it hard disk or SSD? What is a memory? Something that is used to store the data. Okay. Now memory has different types. We have ROM, RAM. Okay. Okay.
They will say they will segmented.
Yeah, ROM is segmented. ROM, then you have what other type of ROM? ROM, PROM, EPROM, double EPROM, multiple types. Okay. But general idea behind ROM is, what do you say it? What does it mean with the read only? Only you can read the data, you cannot write the data there. So in your hard disk, can you write the data? Can you copy the files? Why you can? So when you're copying the files, that means write only. So you're reading also, writing also. That is not a ROM. ROM is a type of memory where you can just read the data, you cannot write the data. Means ROM can be written only once. Once it is written, after that you can just read it, you cannot modify the data. You cannot modify. That is your ROM. So now tell me, in your system, where is this kind of memory? Where you can just read, you cannot write. System files? You mean Windows? I can delete the Windows files.
So any program. Any program.
Any program.
Yes, sir.
All the programs, they are stored in the C drive. My hard disk, I can wipe out my entire hard disk. C drive is my hard disk only. BIOS. When you boot up your system, the first thing comes in your system is your BIOS. Right? How many times you change your BIOS? Even if your hard disk corrupts, your BIOS is still there. Why? Because cannot be modified. Cannot be modified. And what your BIOS stores? The bootloader for your system. Your BIOS stores, see, BIOS is again a program only, but that is stored on a memory. That memory is your ROM. And because BIOS is stored there, we call that chip or IC as a BIOS IC, BIOS chip. Okay. Now see, that is going to store what? Your bootloader, and there is one more program that is known as post. What is post, guys? In one batch, I asked, I think been few months. In one batch, I asked what is post. I got the answer, Instagram post. I asked them, where did you heard the word post? What is post? So they told me Instagram post. So that is not this post. This is different. This is according to the networking and systems. No. Post stands for power on self-test. Your post stands for power on self-test. Power on self-test. Okay. So power on self-test. Now, what does this word means? With the name, you can tell everything. During the power on, your system is going to check its hardware configuration, whether everything is configured properly or not. See, sometimes what happens, let's say your RAM is not working properly. So in your system, if your RAM is not working, what will happen? You will not get the display. If your keyboard is not properly working, you will get an error that your keyboard is not working properly. Okay. And then after you will be asked to press this key, escape or F1 or F2, these kind of keys you have to press. Sometimes your, what you call that? I forgot the name. You have that. No. The battery, CMOS. Yes. There is a CMOS battery in your system that is going to store passwords. Okay. That is going to store your time and date. Okay. These kind of things are stored in the CMOS battery. Okay. So again, if your CMOS is not properly functioning, discharged or damaged, then also you will get an error that your time is not synchronized. Okay. Then you have to either replace it or you will be asked to press the keys. So your system just stops there. It will not boot. Why? Because hardware configuration is not proper. And who does this check for the hardware configuration? Your post program. Okay. So this post program and your bootloader. Bootloader is what? The one that is responsible for starting up your system. That's why whenever you restart your system, the first screen you see is your computer name like Dell, Acer. Okay. And then you get the options. If you want to get into the BIOS, press F12, F2, these kind of things you see. That is the bootloader program that is booting up your system. Okay. Because see, your system, how it will know that, okay, in your hard disk, which partition is your Windows partition and which partition it has to start Windows with. So everything that is stored in the bootloader program that is responsible for that. I mean, your bootloader is responsible, and where it is stored? In the ROM. Is that clear? Everywhere you will find a ROM. In your smartphones also. When you boot up your smartphone, power on your smartphone, you will see your phone company names, and then it will take up some time. Why? what is happening in the backend? It is checking up, first of all, it will check the hardware configuration. Okay. Then what it is going to do, it is going to look out for the operating system for your phone or your Windows. And once it finds, then your actual Android starts booting. These all the processes happen in the backend. Okay. So your ROM can only store the data, you cannot modify it. Okay. And only can be written once. Now, depending on the type, you have PROM, programmable ROM, electrically erasable programmable ROM. Okay. So these kind of different ROMs are there in the new times. So right now in the new systems, even you can update the BIOS. Okay. That you can flash out the BIOS and then new BIOS you can install, updated BIOS you can install. So these kind of things are happening now. Why? Because there is multiple types of ROM. But the general idea behind the ROM will always be that you can just write one time. After that, you can only read. Is that clear? Okay. So next we have RAM. So in your router also there is a ROM, and that is going to store both the things, your post program as well as your bootloader. Okay. RAM. RAM is random access memory. What is it? You guys just tell me full form and then that's it. What is random access memory? Why do you need RAM? To process the memory. How? Who does the processing? Then how your RAM will process?
To whatever we are trying to do.
Means
Whatever the configuration and
whatever the
configurations, like we were trying to if we're trying to do access some website,
website.
whatever.
Okay. Anyone else?
It's continuously accessing something.
But why do we need RAM?
Access
To access the memory. See, RAM is so important that if you do not have RAM in your system, you will not get the display.
So it temporary storage, not possible where
Yes.
doing a program. So it's temporary storage.
Okay, it is the temporary storage. Okay, why it is used?
So for example, I have Excel and what the commands have given that it's storage that, so I can my process will run fast.
Your processor will run fast. Okay, with the processor we have already speed. That okay, this much is the speed it can perform at. It cannot increase the speed. How does RAM affect your speed? See, we are going to be network admins. We are going to deal with the systems only. Whether you are belonging to a cyber security background or CCI security background or enterprise background, any background, you have to deal up with the systems, right? What is RAM? RAM, you can consider as a link between your physical storage and your CPU. One side you have CPU, one side you have physical storage. Now there is a link in between. Now this link, see, your hard disk limited speed, correct? And hard disk actually slow speed. Then if you want to run multiple programs at the same time, so if let's say I'm running, see how many programs I'm running at the same time. Do you see? I have like Explorer also, Chrome also, Firefox also, Zoom also, Paint also, PowerPoint, Wireshark, and the hard disk configuration. These many programs I'm running. So what it does, whenever I'm opening one program, and then if I switch to some other program, still the program will remain in the background. That will still keep on running. Why? Because that is stored here in the buffer. This is a buffer memory. Your RAM is a non-volatile memory also. Now what happens? Before the data goes for processing in the processor. See, right now what is getting processed in the processor? this thing, our PowerPoint, whatever display we see, all these things are getting processed in the processor, right? As soon as I open new program, new information will go there. Okay, so this is a buffer memory. Before the data goes to the CPU, it will always come into the RAM. Even not just the hard disk, even if your BIOS. And that's why, see, if you have the RAM, you will see the BIOS. If you do not have the RAM, this link is not there. So if this link is not there, the data cannot move on to the CPU. This is your CPU. So the data cannot move on to the CPU. The CPU will take up the data from the RAM. So if there is no RAM, obviously no display, because what has to be displayed has to be processed through the CPU, and CPU will take up this information from the RAM. So all the programs, whatever you're running, they will first get loaded into the RAM. Okay. Now, when you run multiple programs at the same time, what happens? This space will keep on increasing. This space will keep on increasing. And there will be a time your RAM will be full. And when your RAM gets full, and if you try to open a new program, what happens? Does it get open? Your RAM is full. Your RAM is being used at the highest. Let's say 4 gigs of RAM, you have all 4 GB is being used. Now you try to open a program. What will happen? Will the program open or not? No. Yes.
We opened many apps and background programs. The first of the program will be arranged between the first of the program will be activity.
See what will happen. Is there any free space in the RAM? No. So you will say your system hang. Now, what do you say that your system will hang? What does it mean? Does it stop working? Means it goes slow. Why? Because there is no space in the RAM to process this information. You have given a new instruction to the system that open this program. But for this instruction, there is no space in the RAM. There is no free space in the RAM. And even to do the backend process of your system, there is no free RAM. And that's why your system hangs. So there are two things you can do. Either you can keep on waiting. Okay. So there will be like some already going instructions, they will be executed. See, for your system being slow, there can be two reasons. One is your processor is slow, means not having sufficient space to execute, not having sufficient speed to execute what all the instructions you are giving. That is one reason. Okay. So if you have like 32 gigs of RAM and you just have like a Pentium processor, Celeron processor, the old processors, still the system will be slow. And if you have a very high-end processor and your RAM is like 2 GB, again, your system will be slow, because this time your processor is good, but your RAM is slow. See, what is the difference between these kind of RAM? Like you have DDR1, DDR2, DDR3, 4, 5, 6. What is the difference? The difference is the frequency. The difference is the frequency. Your RAMs has frequency. Like in the DDR3, you will see like 1200 megahertz, 1600 megahertz, these kind of frequency. And right now we are having up till 6000 megahertz. The difference is this of the frequencies. Okay. Similarly with the CPUs also, you have 5 gigahertz, that how much information they can process. This is their speed. So their speed is in the frequency. Okay. So this is how your RAM works. Now your RAM is non-volatile in nature. What does it mean with the non-volatile? Means your RAM can store data as long as it has power. If there is no power, no data in the RAM. RAM will flush out all the data. Okay. And that's why you do not need every day a new RAM. Otherwise, you open the programs, RAM is full, next day change the RAM. So it is volatile in nature. It can store data only temporarily. So that's why we call it as a temporary storage. And what is stored in the RAM? Whatever programs are running. Similarly, whatever configuration is running in the router, that will be stored in the RAM, the running configuration of your router. Is that clear? Then next we have NVRAM. So again, this is what? RAM only, but this RAM is volatile. and this one is non-volatile. Just the nature difference. This is non-volatile. Okay. So if it is non-volatile, that means it can store the data permanently without power also. Okay. So it is going to store the startup configuration of your router. Now, what is startup configuration? Whenever your router is starting, obviously your RAM is clean. There is no data inside the RAM. So from where your router will load the configuration? From the NVRAM, because it is a permanent storage. So during the startup, your router checks the NVRAM. And that's why whatever configuration is stored inside the running NVRAM, that we know it as a startup configuration, because your router is checking this configuration during the startup process. Okay. And what is startup configuration? Nothing but a backup of running configuration. Just same copy. Ditto copy of your running configuration is your startup configuration. Next, we have flash memory. Your flash memory, this is the memory where your operating system of your router is stored. If you want to see the flash memory, in that router, it will be there. Move the chair. No, not here. Yeah, in front there is a button, right? A big chip type. Yeah, this one. Just press the button. Press it. If you will press the button, it will come out automatically. Yeah, just pass on and you guys can see that what is this and what is the memory. First of all, check. 64 MB means router operating system, how big? Below 64 MB. So that is stored in this chip. This is the flash memory. Okay. Clear? So this is going to store the operating system of your router. Then next we have your bootstrap program. This bootstrap program is nothing but your bootloader that is responsible for your booting up your system and finding up the operating system, that where is your operating system, and then responsible for loading it. Okay. And the post program, what is post? Power on self-tests, responsible for checking the hardware configuration of your router. In case of PC, it will check for PC. In case of Android, it will check for Android. And in case of router, it will check for router. Is that clear? Components, any doubt? Okay. So main things you have to know: RAM will store running configuration, NVRAM will store startup configuration, flash will store operating system. Rest all the things we do not require as of now. Okay. But basic introduction we must know, because again in the interviews can be asked. Okay.
Can we install multiple operating systems in the flash memory?
Multiple operating system, only 64 MB. Right? And even if you install multiple operating system, first of all, the space is limited. We cannot go with that. And for a particular router, there is a particular version. Here we do not have like, okay, in the same system, I can install Windows 7, 8, 10, and 11. No, cannot do that. Okay, because that particular router has a sequence number. For that sequence number, a specific iOS is made. And that only iOS will work in that router, other will not work. Okay, this is clear? Okay. Next, we have the router boot up process, that how your router boots up. So this is the flow chart, how your router boots up. So first of all, you'll just go supply the power and you power on the device. As soon as you supply the power, first program always, whether it is your phone, any kind of device that is having an operating system, this is always the first process. Power on self-test. Okay. Then this power on self-test will check for the hardware configuration. And after that, what it is going to do, it is going to load the bootloader, the bootstrap program. This bootstrap program will boot up your system, look for the iOS, look for the operating system. Okay. So first it will look in the flash memory. If in the flash memory we have the iOS, it is going to load the operating system. Now, sometimes due to some electrical failure, mechanical failure, either your flash memory gets damaged, or let's say flash memory corrupted. Okay, means due to some reason the iOS is not present or someone deleted it. So then your system, instead of loading the operating system, it will directly go to the Roman mode. It will directly go into the Roman mode. Okay, don't focus on this diagram properly. If there is no operating system in the flash memory, your router will directly go into the Roman mode. Okay. Now in the Roman mode, what we can do? We can use the TFTP server. We can use the TFTP server. From the TFTP server, we will restore the operating system into the flash memory. Okay. And from the flash memory, then after again, see, once we restore the operating system, after that in the Roman mode, we will give the reset command, and the reset command will go back here. Then what will happen? Again, post bootstrap finding the operating system, find in the flash. This time we have restored, so it is going to load the operating system. If there is operating system in the flash, will be loaded. No flash means no operating system in the flash, go to the Roman mode. In the Roman mode, we will use the TFTP server, and from the TFTP server, we will restore the operating system in the flash. See what happens. For example, you have BIOS. Consider this as a BIOS. Your Roman mode is as a BIOS. Okay. You start your system, bootloader, try to find the operating system in your hard disk. This is your hard disk. Now, when you do not have Windows in the hard disk, what do? You will remain in the BIOS only. In the BIOS, now you will attach some CD, DVD. Consider that as your TFTP. Similar task is there. Okay. Now, CD, DVD, what you will do? You will install the operating system in the hard disk. That means your flash memory. And once you have, you restart your system and you will get the operating system. Same way, you have the operating system in the flash. Well and good. Do not have it, we'll go to the Roman mode. From Roman mode, we will use the TFTP server to restore the operating system in the flash. Once we restore the operating system, router will restart. After restarting, you will load the operating system. Once the operating system has been loaded, it will first check for the NVRAM. Why? Because it already knows RAM is what? Clean. No data in the RAM, no configuration. It will check in the NVRAM. If there is configuration in the NVRAM, it is going to load that configuration inside the RAM. Because for router, working of the router, if you want to run any program in your computer, that will be loaded inside the RAM only. So whatever configuration is running on the router, that will be stored in the RAM. So it will copy this configuration from NVRAM to RAM. And after that, your router will start. And if there is no configuration, your router will start like a new router, no configuration. Okay, like just came from the factory. Okay, is that clear? So this is the flow chart. Any doubt in this? No? Clear to everyone? Okay. Then once you start your router, once your router has started, in your router, you have certain modes that we call as a configuration mode. Okay. So basically there are only 3 modes. Okay. But here you will see 5 modes. Okay. And I'll show you one by one all the modes also. First is user execution mode. So this is nothing. This is the first mode you see when you boot up your router. You have started your router. You're going to see something on the screen. Okay. There will be messages related to the operating system that, okay, this is the operating system. These all are the things. Okay. Once you go through all the messages and everything, it means it will keep on booting. And finally, you will come into the one mode. And that first mode you see when you start your router, that is known as your user execution mode. Okay. How do you identify this user execution mode? So whenever you will go to the user execution mode, on the screen, you will see a prompt like this. Router at greater than symbol. And after this, you can just go and type the commands. See, there will be no graphical user interface, only CLI commands you have to remember. Okay. This will be. Now, in this mode, there is only 5 to 10 commands you can execute. Okay. Just troubleshooting and monitoring commands, nothing else. And in most cases, we will never use this mode. Why? Because whatever commands you can execute here, same set of commands you can execute in the second mode also, plus some extra commands also. And also this mode can be used for monitoring and troubleshooting purpose. Okay. So instead of going to the user execution mode, we will always mostly use the privileged mode. How do you move into the privileged mode? In the user execution mode, you just have to give one command, that is enable. Just type in enable, hit enter, you will move into the second mode, that is your privileged mode. How do you identify privileged mode? Router and hash symbol. Okay. Now, if greater than symbol you see, user execution mode, hash symbol you see, privilege mode. Okay. In the privilege mode, you can again check the configuration, you can do the troubleshooting, and some sort of configuration you can do, like you can change the date and time of your router. That's it. That all are the things you can see. So this mode mostly we will be using for monitoring and troubleshooting. For troubleshooting and monitoring. That's it. No more use of this mode. Okay. Then where we do the configuration. For doing the configuration, we have our next mode that is known as global configuration mode. And how do we go into the global configuration mode? As soon as you type here, there's a command configure terminal. Okay, right now, no need to worry about the comments. I will be explaining all the comments. Okay. And also I will give you a notepad file that will include some basic comments. Okay. So as soon as you type configure terminal inside your privilege mode, you will launch into the global configuration mode. That is our third mode. Okay. That is the global configuration mode. How do you identify the global configuration mode? You will have router, then you will have config and hash. Okay, so same one hash without config, privilege mode, config hash, global configuration. Okay. Now in this mode, with the name itself suggests global configuration means entire configuration of the router you will do in this mode. Whatever the routing you have to configure, usernames you have to configure, telnet, SSH you have to configure, everything will be configured in this mode. Okay. So this is the mode where you will do all the configurations, and what all the configuration you will do, that will automatically change your running configuration. What all the commands you will give, that will change your running configuration. Okay. So we will do everything in this mode. Then after, let's say you have to set IP addresses on the router. So IP address will be set on a particular interface. Okay. So for this, we have interface configuration. Okay. So this is kind of, you can say, just a sub mode of the global configuration. Like if you want to set, if you want to configure telnet SSH, then you have a VTY mode. If you want to configure interfaces, you have interface configuration mode. That is the sub parts. Okay. But mostly everything that will be done here. Okay. And everything will be clear once we are into the practicals. See, this is the global configuration mode. Let's say now on your router, you have certain interfaces. Like, where's the router? Bring it here. See, focus on what all the interfaces this router has. No, don't show me. You guys need to see. See, on the back, you have some interfaces. On the front, you have what all the ports you have? Auxiliary, console. Okay. So console port just for the console access. But on the back, if you see, what all the ports are available? In yellow color, 2 ports are available, right? No, RJ45, but there is name also. Read the name.
Ethernet ports.
No, Ethernet, but what is the name written there? Fast Ethernet, FE, right? Everybody sees that? FE? Check. With the port, there will be the name of the port and number of the port. Name and number, like FE0/0, FE0/1. These kind of names and numbers will be there. Okay. So if you want to, let's say, if I want to set IP address on the F0/0 port, fast Ethernet 0/0 port. So in the global configuration mode, I will say interface F0/0, whatever name I see there. Okay. So let's say the first port F0/0, I want to set the IP address for. Now what will happen? As soon as I give this command and hit enter, I will go into the interface configuration mode. Now in the interface configuration mode, my prompt will change. It will be router, configure, and what we are trying to configure? Interface. So idea. Okay. And then again, hash. Now here you can just go and set the IP address. How to set the IP address? The command will be IP address. You will give the IP address, let's say 10.1.1.1. And then whatever the subnet mask you have, that subnet mask you will give. And this is how you set the IP address. Okay. Now, in case of router, what is going to happen? Always your ports will be always in the down state by default. By default, your ports will be in the down state. If you want to bring your ports up, you have to give one more command, that is no shutdown. No shutdown. If you give this command, your port will come up and there will be some lights beside the ports. So the lights will start glowing. Okay. So this is how the things happen. Interface configuration mode is clear. Okay. See, these all are the practicals we'll do perform. Then Roman mode, like I said, like a BIOS of your system. Why it is used? For backup and restore purpose mostly. And when we will go to the Roman mode, when we do not have the flash or due to some reason your booting process is stopped. So you can enter this mode when the boot process of a router is interrupted. Okay. And generally you enter this mode while password recovery. Let's say you forgot the password. Okay. You went to a company, on the router, some password is set. You went to a company, the company doesn't know the password, the admin doesn't know the password, what to do? So during the password recoveries, during the operating system restoration, these kind of things, we will use the Roman mode. Okay. So this is the Roman mode. It is like a BIOS mode of your PC. Okay. Then these are the examples like user execution mode, how you will identify router and greater than symbol. You will type the enable command here. You will go into the privilege mode. In the privilege mode, you can monitor and troubleshoot, and you will give here configure terminal command. You will move into the privilege mode. Then next you have global configuration mode. As soon as you give this command and hit enter, you will go into the global configuration mode. If you want to go to the interface, so you will give the command interface, and let's say I want to set IP address on F0/0. If I want to set IP address on F0/1, I will say F0/1. Means what all the interface I want to configure, according to that, I will give. In the interface configuration mode, what all the things you can do? You can just like go and set the IP address, shut down the interface, bring the interface up, these kind of tasks you can do. Okay. And if you want to set the IP address, the command will be IP address. Then what all the IP address you want to set and the subnet mask. Like that. Okay. And if you want to bring it up, after that, you can give the no shutdown command. And your interface will come up. Okay. This is clear. Okay. Now let me show you one by one all the modes. So the software we'll be using. So tomorrow, first of all, I'll tell you how to download and install this Cisco Packet Tracer. And after that, we'll start working. Okay. From tomorrow onwards, you can say kind of we will start doing the practicals. Okay. And tomorrow we'll do probably Thursday or Friday we'll go to the lab. Okay. Because right now we haven't done the configuration part. What all the things from the lab I have to show, I can show you here in the router. Okay. So for the configuration part, either on the Thursday or Friday we'll go to the lab. Okay. Let's say right now, just do not see what all the things are here. I'll explain everything. This is the router, let's say. If I open this router, you'll see this is the physical appearance of this router. Okay. See, what is the series of this router if you see here? In front, it is written. In the front, it is written. On the corner, on the top.
So 2800.
Cisco 2800 series, right? 2800, right? Last. If I open this, is this the same router? Behind you are having two ports. Okay, in front you have the flash memory option. Okay, you have the button and cable.
Yes.
Correct? Right? So like this, you can see. This is the physical appearance. Okay. Now, if I open this router, so let's say this router has, see how many yellow ports are there? 1, 2, and 3. 3 ports are there. Okay, or if you want to understand according to this only, let's go with this one. Okay, so it is having 2 ports, right? On the front, you will have again 2 ports. One is the blue port, that is the console port. Black port, that is the auxiliary port. This is for the power supply, DC power supply, 12 volt. This is for the AC supply. This is the power button to turn the router on and off. Okay, then this is the option where you attach the flash memory. Okay, and these are 2 USB ports. Now, if you want to turn off in packet tracer also, you can turn off and turn on your router. How? Just press the power button. You see the green light is off. And if you want to power on, green light is on. When you power on, you go to the CLI and you see what is happening here. It is loading up the operating system. See, let me show you from the beginning. What it loads? Bootstrap means bootloader. Okay. Then it will tell you about the version of the operating system. Okay. Then it will tell you what is the series of this router. What is the model of this router? Okay. Then from the bootloader, it will check the Roman mode. And from the Roman mode, your operating system will be loaded. Okay. Once the operating system is loaded, it will tell you information about the Cisco and the operating system, that this is the iOS software. Okay. This is the version of the software. Okay. All these things it is going to tell you. Then once your router has booted, you will see this system configuration dialog. What is this system configuration dialog? This you will only see when you do not have any configuration inside your RAM. If you are not RAM, NVRAM. If you do not have the startup configuration, you will always see this system configuration dialog. If you have the startup configuration, you will not see this. Okay. So that clear? If you do not have startup configuration, you will see the system configuration dialog. And if you have the startup configuration, you will not see this. So why this system configuration dialog is there? This is to help you with the basic configuration for the initial configuration. Okay. So you will be given whether you would like to enter the initial configuration dialog. 2 options, yes or no. When we will be configuring the routers, we will always say no. Why? Because all the initial configuration we will do according to our requirement with the help of comments, because we need to understand the comments, right? If you go with the initial configuration dialog, it will ask you some questions and you have to answer them. Like set this password, you will give the answer. Set that password, answer. Set the hostname, you will give the answer. Okay, so let me say yes for once. If I say yes, first question, would you like to enter basic management? Okay, let me go with the basic management. Let me say yes. What it is asking? Okay. Now what it is asking? Enter enable secret. Now what is enable secret? It is the secret is a password used to protect access to privilege access mode and configuration mode. This password after entered becomes encrypted in the configuration. Okay, let's see what it is. 1, 2, 3. What it is asking? Enable password. What is enable password? Is used when you do not specify secret. So if you do not have secret, it will use enable password. But we have already given secret, still it is asking. Okay, like this, it will keep on asking you questions. Now next password. Now these things, as of now, for the basic management setup, we do not even need them. We do not even understand everything yet, right? And still it will keep on asking questions after questions. SNMP network. Now we do not know what is SNMP protocol. Correct. So that's why we will always say no in the beginning. And see, are we understanding any comments here? No, we got to understand nothing, right? So what we will do? Always no. Power it off, power it on. Go back to the CLI. Operating system is getting loaded. And here we will always say no. We don't want to go here. Now you see which mode? User execution mode. What command we need to give here? So like I said, here only 5 to 10 limited set of commands will be there. So how you can check what all the commands we can run? You can give here question mark. If you give the question mark, it will tell you what all the commands you can run. So you can see like connect, disable, disconnect, enable, exit, logout, ping, resume. These all the commands are there, limited number. Okay. Now, if I give the enable command, what will happen? We will go to the privilege mode. Do you see? Turn on the privilege commands. Okay, let's give enable. Did your prompt change? Changed. Now notice what all the commands are here. Same commands I will show you here also. Connect, disable, disconnect, enable, exit. Okay, all these commands. Now see. If I give question mark, first of all, number of commands, more. Do we have the same commands like connect? Okay, what is the command? Connect, disable, disconnect. See, disable, disconnect. Then we have exit command. Then we have ping command. Then we have resume, telnet, SSH. Okay, so almost all of the commands from there are there in this mode as well. Okay, and in this mode we can run more number of commands. We can use it for troubleshooting and monitoring purpose. Okay. Now, if you want to go into the global configuration mode, the command was configure terminal. Plus type it. Configure terminal. Okay, hit enter. Do you see prompt change? Now we get config hash, right? So we are in the global configuration mode. Okay. Now on this router, let's say we want to set the IP address on the interface F0 by 0. So what will be the command? I will say simple interface F0 by 0. Okay. Hit enter. Did my prompt change again? Is it config if? Correct. If I want to set the IP address, I will say IP address 10.1.1.1, let's say, for example, and 255.0.0.0. IP address, then whatever the IP address you want to assign, and the subnet mask, and then hit enter. Okay. If you want to bring this interface up, by default it is in the down state, means by default it is in the shutdown state. Now in your router, if you have given any command, okay, and let's say you have given the wrong command, mistake. So if you want to remove any command or undo the effect of a command that you have given by mistake, always just in the beginning say no. This is not just with the shutdown command. See, the shutdown command is by default given. So we have to say no shutdown. If you have given wrong IP address, so same command you will give. Let's say if you have given wrong IP address, so you will say no IP address and the same IP address you will give. Like this. Okay, is that clear? So and if any command you have given by mistake, just in the beginning say no, and the effect will be removed. The command will be removed. Is that clear? Okay. If you want to exit any mode, simple exit command is there. See, from interface configuration to global configuration, from global configuration to privilege mode. Now, how did we come into the privilege mode? By giving enable command. By giving enable command in the user execution mode, we went to the privilege mode. So if I give the reverse command, disable. Okay. If I give enable, privilege. Now, let's say if you want to give exit command here, then you will exit the user execution mode also. Okay. Now, in most cases, we will never use the user execution mode. So you can give the exit command. Only one command you can remember, exit. Okay. Again, enable, configure terminal. Okay. Exit. Okay. Again, enable, configure terminal. Now, let's say you don't want to type exit command, or let's say I'm in the interface configuration, interface F0 by 0. Anywhere in any mode you are in the router, if you give Control C, Control Z, you will go directly into the privilege mode. See, right now, if I want to go to the privilege mode using the exit command, first of all, exit I will go to the global configuration, then exit I will give, I'll go to the privilege. 2 times exit I have to give. Simply, I can press Control Z or Control C. I will directly go into the privilege mode. Okay, these are some shortcuts. So tomorrow, what we'll do, first of all, we'll see how to install, download this particular software, and then we'll get familiar with the interface. Okay, and how you can use the routers and switches. Is that clear? Any doubt in today's part? TCP, UDP router components, modes? No? Okay. All right then. That's all for the day. Guys, online people, any doubt? No. No. Okay. All right then. I'll stop the recording, guys.